She raised a question of a victim with me, and quite right to, and I accept that victims and survivors, these inquiries, amongst the issues that's been raised with me, and if she's been speaking to victims, they'll have raised this with her.
Did Labour's Chris Bryant just score an own goal on national television? His attempt to shut down criticism of Labour's handling of the grooming gang scandal backfired spectacularly on BBC's Question Time. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. As Bryant scrambled to defend his party's position, he inadvertently opened a Pandora's box of past contradictions and inconvenient truths. What shocking revelations will come to light as this political drama unfolds? Chris Bryant's attempt to shut down criticism during the BBC's Question Time debate turned into a spectacular own goal.
Those that I've spoken to are worried about the delay of a further inquiry, is that it's very hard for victims and survivors to come forward to explain what's happened to the inquiry. The last inquiry took 7 years. That would take us to 2031.
The Labour MP, known for his sharp tongue and quick wit, found himself caught in a web of his own making. As he tried to dismiss Elon Musk's comments on the grooming gang scandal, Bryant inadvertently exposed the glaring inconsistencies in his own stance on foreign influence in British politics. The debate took an unexpected turn when Liam Halligan, playing the role of unexpected hero, decided to challenge Bryant's argument. Halligan, with a mischievous glint in his eye, reminded Bryant of a certain American president who had waded into British affairs not too long ago. Barack Obama didn't have much success in that case, did he? Halligan quipped, referring to Obama's ill-fated attempt to sway British voters during the Brexit campaign. Bryant's face visibly paled as he realized the trap he had set for himself. Here he was, vehemently arguing that British people should decide what happens in Britain, while conveniently forgetting his party's own history of courting foreign influence when it suited their agenda. The hypocrisy was palpable, and the audience could sense the shift in the room's atmosphere. As Bryant scrambled to defend his position, the cracks in his argument became more apparent. How could he justify criticizing Musk's comments while giving Obama a free pass? The Labour MP's credibility began to crumble faster than a sandcastle in a hurricane. His attempts to differentiate between the two situations only served to highlight the inconsistency in his stance. The tension in the studio was electric as viewers waited to see how Bryant would extricate himself from this self-imposed predicament. Would he acknowledge the contradiction and attempt to salvage his argument? Or would he double down, risking further embarrassment? As it turned out, Bryant chose the latter option, digging himself deeper into a hole of his own making. His failure to address the implications of his past statements only served to undermine his credibility further. The audience watched in a mix of fascination and secondhand embarrassment as Bryant's performance devolved into what can only be described as a political blunder of epic proportions. But the story doesn't end there. As Bryant floundered, astute observers couldn't help but wonder what other contradictions might surface. Had the Labour Party's stance on foreign influence always been this flexible? Or was this a recent development, born out of political expediency? Just when Labour thought they'd weathered the storm, a new player entered the arena, armed with tweets that would make even the most seasoned politicians squirm. Elon Musk, the tech billionaire known for his controversial statements, suddenly found himself at the center of Britain's grooming gang scandal debate. But why was this American entrepreneur suddenly so invested in UK politics? Musk's involvement began with a series of inflammatory posts that sent shockwaves through the political landscape. He accused Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, of being complicit in what he called the worst mass crime in the history of Britain. This wasn't just another Twitter spat. Musk was directly challenging Starmer's record as Director of Public Prosecutions, a role that put him at the heart of the justice system during a crucial period. The tech mogul didn't stop there. In a move that left many gobsmacked, Musk called for both Starmer and Labour MP Jess Phillips to be jailed, branding them rape genocide apologists. As if that wasn't enough, he suggested that America should liberate Britain from what he termed a tyrannical government. It was the kind of rhetoric that would make even the most hardened political commentators raise an eyebrow. Predictably, Labour figures were quick to respond. Health Minister Karen Smith dismissed Musk's claims as wrong, suggesting that he should use his platform to support victims instead of making incendiary remarks. But was this enough to quell the growing storm? Musk's intervention had the effect of a match thrown into a powder keg. It polarized public opinion, with some viewing his comments as a necessary wake-up call for the government. Others, however, criticized him for meddling in UK politics without understanding the complexities of the issue. After all, what did a Silicon Valley entrepreneur really know about the intricacies of British law enforcement and social services? But here's where things get interesting. Musk's bombshell statements didn't just ruffle feathers, they reshaped the entire discourse around the grooming gang scandal. Suddenly, there were renewed calls for a national inquiry, with some Labour MPs breaking ranks to support this demand. It was as if Musk had given voice to a sentiment that had been bubbling under the surface, waiting for the right moment to explode. Starmer, for his part, tried to regain control of the narrative. He accused opposition MPs of jumping on a bandwagon and amplifying far-right narratives. But was this a case of too little, too late? The Labour leader found himself in the unenviable position of having to defend not just his party's current stance, but his own past actions as DPP. As the dust settles on this explosive debate, we're left grappling with the uncomfortable truth that our political system might be ill-equipped to handle the weight of historical scandals. The grooming gang issue isn't just about past crimes. It's a stark reminder of how deep-rooted political interests can overshadow justice for victims. Jess Phillips' statement that nothing is off the table sounds promising. But can we trust politicians to follow through? The fact that it takes public pressure and victim advocacy to even consider a national inquiry speaks volumes about the priorities of those in power. It's a damning indictment of our political culture when victims have to fight tooth and nail just to be heard. So, here's the million-pound question. Can we ever truly hold our leaders accountable? Or are we doomed to a cycle of broken promises and eroding public trust? The ball's in your court, dear viewers.